Hi, I'm back. Housemate wanted me to make them a cup of tea. How rude of them. How absolutely rude of them. Where were we? Oh, yes. A comment on my YouTube suggested I watch some MandaloreGaming. Apparently he is less funny than Seth Zentag, but he is still a fun watch. So we're gonna get on to some Wrath of the Righteous review. I am a big fan of this game. It's kind of like the true successor to Baldur's Gate. Because BG3, while it is kind of fun, it doesn't really feel anything like Baldur's Gate. Isn't a cuppa an inherent right over there? I guess so. I didn't expect to need to make one at this point in time, so there we go. Anyway, let's see what Mandalore has to say about Pathfinder. I'm a big fan of it, so Mandalore is funny, just not overly, like I said. Okay, let's mute my music and see what we have here. Okay, this opens up with the DLC. Spoilers, everybody.
What in the name of the Green Mother's going on in this crazy town?
After the rabbit hole of adventuring that was Kingmaker, the sequel has now been out long enough to receive its own enhanced edition. And as you might expect, it is a dense, gelatinous cube of features.
Oops.
Once again, part CRPG, part city builder, part empire builder.
Hold on. I need to get smaller. I'm too big. Oh. Common problem I seem to have. Okay. Moving on.
And part Heroes of Might and Magic 3. So the ambition is high.
They put that weird Heroes minigame in it, which I didn't really like.
Compared to Kingmaker, some areas have been streamlined down for convenience, and others that were intricate before have now reached new levels of complexity. Story-wise, it's also not a direct sequel. It takes place in a completely new land, and besides some Easter eggs, you can start here just fine. I will say that while it's different story-wise, tonally, this does feel like a sequel. Kingmaker had a good amount of low-stakes murder hoboing through the woods, where having rope and tools mattered, and it felt like playing Pathfinder with your friends. Even ruling the kingdom, you did have a...
Which is weird. I usually prefer the more grounded adventurers, yet I found myself preferring Wrath of the Righteous for some reason. Maybe Kingmaker, we gotta give Kingmaker another chance someday. Because that low-stakes, more grounded adventure is more up my alley. I don't know. Anyway.
Variety of issues to deal with, but it wasn't super high stakes until the end game. In Wrath of the Righteous, demons from another dimension invade 4 minutes
straight out the gate, demons!
into the game. The tutorial forest has become the tutorial urban war zone, with demons leaving IEDs in the street and crusaders deciding whether or not to burn children. With that as their starting point, you can imagine the kind of heights it develops into. In turn, what your character can become to deal with that can also get pretty nuts. So it does feel like a natural ramp up as a...
My only complaint about the paths, he might touch on this, is the fact that only like a couple of them feel thematically sensible. The other ones feel like, you know, joke options almost. They're all fun, but they don't feel like they make much sense in the context of the game. Like Angel feels like it's the only real option.
A sequel, and it still has the tons of adventuring side content you'd expect, but if you're completely new, it's a deep end start that won't waste time getting going. The good news is that the tutorial and general onboarding stuff for learning is much better this round. And sure, you still might feel compelled to hire a CPA for dealing with a character creator, but the important thing is it's not GURPS. No, I meant it's more clear than before, which is good when your game has this many interlocking systems.
Never played GURPS.
There's a good amount of stuff to cover, so for now, let's step back and look at the character creator. There are so many options that, for an alarming amount of people, they spend the most hours on this part of the game.
I like having options, but it feels like half of the options they give you in Wrath of the Righteous are kind of pointless. Like, yeah, you could pick War Priest, but you're better off just picking Oracle or Cleric. I find that War Priest just does a worse job. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad.
They play an hour or two, get tempted thinking about something else, and come back to the paperwork.
Reroll!
Kingmaker already had a lot of options for classes and subclasses, and Wrath has amped all of those up.
I must have restarted a billion times. What is it? Failure to commit to the class. There's too many options. Not re-rollaholic or altaholic? Is that what you call it? I don't know. Crusader Cleric Dwarf is your way. Oh, really? Oracle is my favorite because you can turn them into like a mounted full caster who's also really effective in melee. I find it really hard to pick anything else sometimes.
There are plenty of new archetypes and brand new prestige classes. And what existed before has new feats, spells, abilities, you name it. To give an example, there are now over a dozen animal companion options, including dinosaurs.
Except Wolf is just better than everything else.
Which sounds fun on its own, but Wrath has also added a mounted combat system.
Horse.
Meaning it's viable to ride a Triceratops into battle. Or
Wolf
forgo
mount.
that for a traditional horse, just make sure to pick your knightly order. Though even beyond class-specific options, there are now tons of backgrounds to choose from. These can get more specific or hyper-specific if you go for a regional
Some
one.
of them are really
Plus,
good.
some might only show up with specific races, which you've got a dozen of. They still ask your birth date, what's your religion, are you allergic to shellfish? I swear these Pathfinder games are like the doctor's office clipboard of character creators.
I like fish, but not shellfish. Does that make me shellfish? No, that's a bad joke.
Now you could use a pre-made, but come on.
Why would you
It's
do that?
more in-depth and very welcome. Just having the backgrounds alone would be a huge improvement,
Why
but
would you
everything
make-
else was expanded on. It lets you fine-tune exactly what you
One of
want to
the
be,
presets.
which is great if you do have a plan. If you don't, it
I'm not a live viewer usually, but I wanted to pop in and say, I like your South React content. I've been enjoying Reggie's Conquest of Elysium 5 content recently. Oh, keeps doing what... Thank you very much for the message. It means a lot, especially when you have low confidence in yourself like me. Thanks a lot. Anyway, what does Mandalore have to say next?
can be overwhelming. You can respec during the game, which is nice, but most people seem to want to start fresh. It's still the best example of where Wrath has added complexity for the better. The extra...
It always feels immersion breaking, changing class mid-game. Anyway, carry on.
options give you more control and satisfaction in character progression. Leveling up lets you fine-tune things closer to where you want them to be, and an early choice like a bloodline can have new effects even at the end of the game. The general difficulty settings are again extremely customizable, and the unadjusted normal setting is more generous this time around. Aspects you're not interested in, like city building or army battles, can also be completely automated, but I'll get more into that when I talk about it properly. Generally, the systems that were more streamlined down were for the more grand and epic theme. Like setting up a camp and resting still has skill checks for camouflage, cooking, and now lets you create potions or scrolls if you're skilled into it, but what you won't see are camping supplies. If the area is clear, you're free to rest. The only drawback is you'll start to feel the effects of demonic corruption until you sleep somewhere sanctified. It's just a worsening debuff that prevents you from sleep spamming. So it is less inventory management, but you're still forced to occasionally go back and recover somewhere secure. At least, secure compared to Baphomet's Airbnb. See, Wrath takes place in the country of Mendev. It was a fairly unremarkable land until about a century ago.
I don't really know anything about the setting, but I had a good time with it. Sometimes the setting is quite important for you to get into it, I find. Like, I think a lot of people really like Sword Coast ever since the first Baldur's Gate kind of established it as a new location. But you have places like Waterdeep, which is another famous one. But I don't think any game has ever been set there, has it? I know Eye of the Beholder is technically set in Waterdeep, but you're just in the sewers the entire game, so maybe that doesn't count. Maybe you go there in Neverwinter Nights?
A powerful mage named Arilu Vorlesh tore open a hole in reality that led into the Abyss. The Abyss is a Pathfinder version of Hell, though Hell itself also exists. The difference is that Hell is a structured and ordered torture realm, complete with layers, just like everyone's favorite laugh-a-minute comedy. There's also Cthulhu and Chupacabras, because Pathfinder has everything. Anyhow, the Abyss is the anything-goes madness realm. There are a Cheesecake Factory menu amount of demon lords ruling over various
part of the game
subrealms,
here.
but even in those, it's not really consistent. On a good day, you can be seized by a demon with more vowels in his name than a street in Hawaii, because you've been randomly selected to fight the Titan in the arena, because that'll amuse whatever McDagon is strongest on your street that week. The Abyss sucks. And Hell is not involved in any of this. At least, not directly.
Oh, I remember
So when
getting
this
that.
rift was opened, it was dubbed the World Wound, and Abyss demons poured out of it.
World
The land itself was
Wound.
horribly corrupted. It rained blood. It stormed blood. And neighboring
And it destroys your frame rate. I swear, I don't know what they've done with the engine in this game, but the longer you play, the worse it performs. I think I managed to fix it slightly by reducing the amount of auto saves allowed and quick saves, and only keeping like a few, but then you run the risk of, you know, saving yourself into a corner.
nations, not wanting to be murdered or enslaved by citizens from the worst version of Hell, began to send forces in to try and hold the demons back. The past century has had 4 declared crusades, and it's become a losing battle. While the 4th crusade wasn't nearly as disastrous as the real-life one, it ended in a stalemate where crusaders barely held on to the fortified city of Canabris. And you start the game seeing it lit on fire. Mendev will have to hope that the 5th time is the charm, and you can lead the crusade to victory and close the world wound. But the core of its story isn't just winning, but how you win. Maybe you'll use the war to further your own goals. Now that you're caught up, let's talk visuals. Having made a game to learn and refine from, for a 3D isometric RPG, it's a great looking game. The lighting in particular has gone through some improvements, and depending on the time of day, it can look downright gorgeous. Surfaces can reflect characters in the environment, and without needing any kind of proprietary ray
I don't really
tracing
care
technology.
about visuals
Environments
that
can be
much.
dark and moody, but they'll still make use of striking colors as well. It's an appropriate balance where dungeons can be dark and oppressive, but they'll twist things far enough to stop it from getting dull. It's also great for navigation, since while you do have a map, having the areas physically look different is helpful. Occasionally, some things in the environment can look undercooked, like it was just a Kingmaker asset that was ported.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the textures just sometimes don't load in properly, but it's not a big issue really. Some people really care about visuals, but as long as you can tell what it is, I don't think I really care that much. I've played text-based games in the past, so that kind of says how much I care about visuals. Wizardry 6, for example. The Lagosaurus dwells in this executable, ravenously feasting on your brains. Yes, its hunger knows no bounds.
in, but overall the game looks rich and colorful. There were times where I was impressed by just how much detail they could pack into a scene. Like seeing the aftermath of some kind of blood ritual gone wrong, or maybe right. It hits a good balance for me, where things aren't so drab that it's dull, but not so colorful that it gets too cartoony. Effects like how the wind moves through the grass and trees, and the weather effects in general are also improved. You now deal with some proper blizzards and storms, and weather of the more apocalyptic variety. These new effects, like heat waves and fog, have also made their way into the spellcasting. So magic can now look about as wild as magic should. Sometimes they go crazy with the particle effects. And it might be outrunning the engine at times, as I'd have an occasional slowdown or hitch while playing the game, and it was usually while using magic. As another nice bonus, you can actually rotate the camera now.
You can.
I thought it was bizarre Kingmaker didn't have this, when that plays to its strength as a 3D ISO game. That's fully implemented now, including areas that shift and change depending on where your camera's oriented, which we'll get to. Still, the game world looks great, and there's a lot of variety to it. All the characters and creatures are also in about the same place. You can still see items down to what's equipped on your belt, and Kingmaker's Monster Menagerie has been expanded out with new weirdos. The gore is also as meaty as ever.
There's these little red dudes that pop out of nowhere and just one-shot your team. I can't remember what they're called. Babble or something. Why can't I? Babaru or something. It might pop up in the video. Babao.
Just die already.
Gory.
Was that? No. The general soundscape is also good. Combat sounds are still meaty and satisfying, and the horrible wet splat of Gallagherring some cultist's head never gets old. When it comes to music, the more grand tone has also carried over. The core of the soundtrack is a big epic choir and orchestra, which is in the usual wheelhouse for an RPG. But even with that, it still has good variation in how it's used.
He's playing
There are all kinds of directions you can take your
real-time
character, and there's themes for all of them. It can range from sounding like Kingdom of Heaven to a haunted house.
Play it in the club. Hey, this is exciting. Too exciting.
The game has a lot more music than its predecessor, including battle tracks, which is definitely the area it was lacking in the most.
Oh, good.
They
But
can
not
be
very
more subdued,
memorable,
and there
I'd
are
say.
pleasant, relaxing tracks like the tavern music, so it's not all doom choirs all the way through. I will say the over-the-top music is brought to its greatest heights by the over-the-top voice acting. The direction is so fun and sincere. It doesn't matter how silly or corny a line can be, they put their all into it. And
Reginald.
with the music, sometimes you see magic.
And as I stare into the flames of the rift itself, the answer still eludes me. What is the secret to this canker festering at the very heart of our world? How can we heal it?
How can we?
Blood runs in you. I can smell it.
Reminds me of Cthulhu
I was not
from
aware
World of
the
Warcraft.
Deathlies was able to continue.
You are already dead. Whatever he says. Can't remember his lines, but it's very creepy. Try an eyeball.
His bloodline before he died.
Just in time. The place is a bit of a mess, and I haven't even poured the blood into the goblets yet.
Not everyone here is
Reginald.
fighting for Mendev and its queen.
Best
fallen
character,
paladin.
by the way.
When you crossed to the demon's side, you betrayed all mortal kind. And for that, you must pay.
He is my spirit
It's so
animal.
refreshing, and the performances all around are excellent. There are already plenty of great characters, but the audio work brings it to another level. Like, check this out. This is a smile you can hear.
Since that night, Chief, Melround didn't even set eyes on it. While he was dealing with the golem, I sneaked past them, and that was that.
Awesome. Now on the gameplay side, you can break things up into a few sections. The first being your standard RPG adventure stuff, the second being event management, the third being city building,
City
and
building.
the fourth being army combat. These are all intertwined, so to make it simpler, I'm going to break it in half. The first half is still adventuring, but everything else I'm going to fold into being crusade management. Besides, for the first dozen or so hours, there's no management to think about. And if you never want to deal with it,
True.
it can still be set to automatic, though there are some flaws with that I'll get into.
Yeah.
Anyways, the early stage is based around traveling the
Definitely don't want to set. You can set it to automatic, but I like to just set it to like an easier mode because I think you lose out on a lot of stuff if you set it to automatic. Wizardry 8 been sitting in my Steam. You've sold me. We'll have to make a GOG, I guess, too. I've played a lot of Wiz 8, but I've never beaten it because I usually start a party and then play like half the game and then either get soft locked or I burn out or I want to make a new team or something. So if I've played something for 1,000 hours but never beaten it, do I qualify to be a fan of it? I don't know. You decide.
ruined city of Canabris. The last holdout is a fortified tavern, and your mission is to find survivors and regroup there in order to launch a counterattack. Not every faction is willing to work together, which is a good test run for the later parts of the game. The decisions you make here still matter and can be showing up 50 or more hours in, but overall, this is training wheels. Combat can change from real-time with
Difficulties.
pause to turn-based on the fly.
Got quite a good, what is it, curve? The curve is pretty good because it starts off, that I've never played it on like sadist difficulty or masochist difficulty. I usually stick to core or maybe a bit lower if I'm feeling lazy. And it's not bad until you get to like chapter 3 or something where everything has got a billion AC and you can't hit anything without a crit. Or just load up on buffs.
But compared to Kingmaker, the game is made with turn-based being in mind compared to a later edition.
Hmm.
With how many skills and abilities that have been added, turn-based really seems the way to go this time.
Yes.
It is still nice that you can switch over to real-time for a trash fight,
Yeah.
but as the challenge increases, the more it seems you need to play slow and tactical. While the main story is focused on demons, there is a great variety of combat encounters
feel
if you go looking for them. Even if you stick hard to the main story,
Apparently my revulsion for real-time RPG gameplay was so corrosive that I had to repeat my PC. I can never play this in real time. I feel like it's too fast, even with pausing. I'd rather just play it out in turns.
it does try to give you a variety of enemies, but some stages
Good
like Act
variety.
4 are going to be demon central. So where Kingmaker's story gave you a few flavors when it came to the main threat, here it is more limited unless you go exploring.
Mammoth?
And you should. Exploring Canabris is mainly
Spending 5 whole minutes to apply 23 buffs to one battle. If you're not on console, get yourself bubble buffs. It's a really good add-on that lets you set up a buff loadout and just launched them all in one click. Very recommended. It made the game much more tolerable for me. Couldn't live without it anymore.
An itinerary of different bombed out buildings, which they do try to mix up a bit, and they'll have interesting events happening in the locations, but when the world opens up, you'll have a lot more variety. The campaign is staged out in a way where you're far less likely to encounter an enemy you can't handle. It can absolutely still happen, but it's far more rare compared to the predecessor. And since you can rest up more, that means more time out in the field.
Those ghosts.
There are tons of side missions and plenty other things to do that are completely unmarked, like diving into a small dungeon and fighting a mini-boss, or solving a quick mystery.
Oh, yeah.
You'll sometimes run across the mini-adventure modules too, which are...
It had a pretty good world map / open world. You could just find like a random mini encounter out in the world. I quite like how they did that. BG3 is something that I felt kind of lacked in that department. I always felt like there's not much off to the side. Maybe it comes in later on. I don't know. It's not a competition. They're both good.
Purely based on choices and skill checks. So it won't all be combat, but there is a lot of combat.
There is a lot.
That said, some of the best non-combat content comes from your companions.
Ugh.
Overall, your party's writing and character and development runs laps around Kingmaker. Rather than front or back loading
Not necessarily.
Like before, they're spread out much more naturally throughout the campaign. You have a lot of companion options.
There's a few of them I don't like Sela. She's nice, but kind of boring. Lan, he's nice, but kind of boring. Regel's cool. Ember's cool. Whatever her name is annoying. So Ciel's okay. Dayran, he's all right. A little bit smug, but that suits him.
Too, with some restricted to certain paths, and others being pretty hidden unless you fulfill certain conditions. Most of the characters are really fucking strange too, which I appreciate. For example, Darren could be your primary healer. He's a young, hedonistic count who's marked down as being neutral evil. In every sense, he's a spoiled, pampered asshole.
As a child, I had my very own pony, but I always dreamed of having a lamb. I was never allowed one. Sheep were seen as peasant animals, utterly unsuitable for the scion of a noble line. The trauma haunts me to this day.
How in the hell is he the healer? Well, his party's got so wild that
he doesn't have to be a healer. It's down up to your imagination. You can make him whatever you want him to be. Oracle is that good. You can kind of put them in any role, I'd say.
He picked up healing magic to stop bodies from piling up. So he became a pro just to stop S&M malfunctions. Then you have Regil, who's a Hell Knight dedicated to brutally keeping order. He'll do some monstrous things for victory, and while he usually does it coldly, there is a sadistic side to him. He's also a gnome.
2 more minutes left out in the open.
Gnomes are the
neither
best.
you nor I will have any troops left to order about, Crusader.
But the wounded...
We have no wounded anymore.
Problem solved. Retreat to shelter.
And now he and Darren are sleepover buddies.
Such power, and it is bestowed upon an undisciplined whelp. I cannot abide waste.
Quite right. I am too good for this little world. Thank you for noticing.
There's also a talking weapon, a tiefling thief attached to some kind of evil spirit, a petty criminal turned paladin, a dwarf contract killer, some kind of borderline feral spider mutant woman, and, of course, the redeemed succubus who's actively trying not to murder and devour people.
Chalet. Someone added up her stat rolls and she's got like more stats than the rest of your entire party combined. Someone's favorite.
Again. Those are just some examples, and some characters I thought were bland could have some insane shit brewing beneath the surface. Understanding them makes replaying the game even more fun. They do a good and thorough job planting hints for later reveals. Their stories can develop into a few different ways, especially if you throw romance into the mix. And yes, that includes the succubus. I know people who bought Dark Messiah just for that. You can still make a completely custom party, but this time around, I never felt tempted. They feel like the driving force of the story and have a lot of interactions depending on what you're doing. Sometimes they'll even argue with each other. And you can stay out of it, or take a side with skill checks, and it's rare that you can placate both sides. Managing the crusade, they become advisors. They bring their own perspective for tackling dilemmas, and they usually make good back and forth points. When it comes to managing a war, a character you might not usually agree with can offer something really insightful. Some of the most thoughtful and interesting writing happens at these meetings, whereas in Kingmaker, you choose an advisor's solution based on their personality. You have lots of opportunities to use your skill checks throughout the game, and
I quite like the skill checks because not only did your skills come into account, your party members' skills contribute, so you don't have to spread yourself all over the place. You can have dedicated members for each checks. So something that I thought was annoying in BG3, I keep going back to it because it's like the closest thing to compare it to. It's always annoying how in like a dialogue, you've got a party member with a really valuable skill, but you can't use it in the, what's the word? The dialogue. It's missed opportunity. Maybe they changed it since launch. I haven't really experimented with it.
failing them can still be fun. These interactions do start to taper off towards the endgame. Especially in your last talk with your party, I thought you'd have more options. It's not nearly as empty as Kingmaker's late game, but there is a noticeable lack of extra stuff to do and options for them. It's still an improvement over only kingdom management. I did most of the quests I could my first playthrough, though I did have some companions dying off for job purposes. And that clocked to about 80 hours, but it easily could have been
80?
a dozen more. Kingmaker was longer, but it had stretches of not much happening. Wrath of the Righteous felt dense. The pacing of the main story is more under your control rather than waiting for stuff to happen. It's a more packed game, but also screaming at you to replay it. This is where the mythic paths come in, and these shake up the game like nothing
Mythic
else.
paths.
They're not new classes, they're an entire second aspect to your character. Early in the game, you discover you have some kind of strange power attached to you. It's an incorporeal cosmic jello, but you do have some control in shaping it. The more obvious early routes can have you start to ascend towards being an angel or a demon. But as the game goes on, you have opportunities to lean in other
secret ones
directions.
too.
There are 10 of these in total you can discover, so again, another good incentive to explore. The
Mm.
mythic milestones are an entire other tree you level up in, with new spells, abilities, and everything else.
So many
Your
choices.
companions also get some of your mythic power, and while they can't ascend like you can, they can enhance their own abilities. There are options like becoming an Eon, a
Portrait.
Golden Dragon, or a Lich. I'm always on the hunt for good Necromancer RPGs, and while you can't drown people with skeletons like Diablo 2, as far as pure flavor
Ooh.
goes, this might be the best Necromancer RPG,
Never
even more
tried
so than
that.
Arcanum. It takes a while to become a full Lich, but it
Arcanum
is a
mentioned.
dark road. Beyond getting some Dr. Manhattan tier obliteration magic, there are significant characters you can bring back from the dead if you decide to kill them. You can have a party made up of completely undead characters if you want, though unfortunately you can't bring your own companions back as undead if
Aw.
they disagree with you. They also rarely have anything to say and don't have the great party interaction that the living
Obviously.
companions do. Which is a shame because some undead companions were so tied to the main story in their life that they should have a lot more to say. Even despite
they're
that,
dead.
it's still incredible.
What's that?
Beyond the ridiculous magic and abilities you get, the flavor for it is just so entertaining. Like you liberate a city from demons, but then the Royal Council is concerned because you're constructing an undead Tyrell building over it. So while you have the main story, your mythic story runs parallel with it and intersects it at several points. It's not simplified to, you're just an evil lich, either. It brings up points like, which factions of the undead do you want to support?
Oh.
Are you losing your humanity purely to win the war and afterwards you'll wander off, or is this a bid for new power? It's such an engaging campaign, and there are 9 other mythic directions you can
Never
go
tried
in.
a Lich
For
before.
example,
Maybe it's
the angel and demon paths have even more stuff to do, and a lot more relevancy to a good versus evil story than a bone
yeah.
man. Or maybe you think a lich is too soft, and during the campaign you find a horrible swarm of ravenous insects.
No.
They're so awful that killing them off is near the best thing to do for anyone, unless you're really intrigued by them. You can conduct experiments so vile and evil that you
swarm.
can become a swarm that walks. And you introduce the world to insect politics, where you
Yuck.
devour everyone.
No.
Cities become horrible hives, and you journey on looking for more meals. This is all excellent, though some mythic paths clearly have more to them than others. Something like Golden Dragon doesn't have much to it, or take much to unlock. They're not equal, but if you don't care about this stuff at all, you can become a mortal legend. This doubles your level cap and lets you level up faster,
good.
so you can dabble in all kinds of classes. So with alignment choices and mythic choices, it's one of the most replayable RPGs I've played. But my biggest hang-up is Act 4. Past the halfway
Oh.
point of the game, you're sent into the Abyss.
Yes.
There's no coming back until the chapter is done, so no overworld
Pretty much all of my playthrough just grind to a halt in this chapter. You get sent to some abyss city, and it is one of the most tedious parts. It doesn't detract from my high score of the game, but which is like, I don't know, like a 9 out of 10, maybe an 8.5. But this chapter, just I dread it every time.
Travel or any management stuff. You're instead trapped in the Chaos Realm of Torment, which, to be fair, does have a lot going for it. Being full of chaotic evil demons, nearly every mission has more going for it than it first looks. Everyone is trying to scam you, or use you, or stab you in an alley. Some of the most entertaining quests can be in the Abyss, but it's also a weird slog, and the circumstances of you getting here are strange. You're ordered into the Abyss by the Queen of Mendev to investigate the demons. Even if you're winning the war, if she's unhappy with how you've done it, for some reason, she might also strip you of your rank, effectively
Never understood her
banishing you.
character, really.
For a lot of characters, this seems like a point to fight back rather than being sent to Super Hell. I don't think the story could function skipping the Abyss, but once you're there, you might be thinking a lot about if there was a way to avoid it. The main pain is navigation.
Yes.
They went to great lengths to make it actually feel like a realm of chaos, and they succeeded in that. When you rotate your camera, buildings, doorways, and entire landmasses can shift around.
I think on subsequent playthroughs, I ended up using a teleport around hotkey. Not necessarily to cheat, just to make navigation of this stupid maze a little bit easier. I think it's called Toybox on GitHub or something. Very recommended. You don't have to use it to cheat. You can just use it for quality of life stuff, really. And for debugging. That's always helpful.
The shifting can take some time, which means some waiting before you can proceed. There are a few areas, like an empty bridge, where it's clear you do need to rotate the camera. Others feel completely random, so even if you know where you need to be, how you get there can be challenging. Not to mention that while you're sometimes trying to figure out how to proceed, you sometimes get attacked by street gangs of demons. The missions will frequently cross districts too, which means lots and lots of loading. But even if you're in the right district, you might need to come from a different part of the district to get to where you want to go. You can unlock fast travel between the sections, which helps, but not as much as you'd hope. Because again, where you're spit out might not always be the most convenient pathway. And checking for what could be the right way can take a while. Also, some quests don't have their locations marked correctly, or marked at all.
Yeah.
I looked all over for the Den of Sweet Horror just to find out there was a room in a brothel. Like, the rotation idea is neat, and there are some fun puzzles attached to it, it's just how far this was taken. If you were invested in the Crusade and the war, you've been ripped away from that to ride around on Satan's kaleidoscope. So you have fun missions, tedious navigation, and some really annoying fights. Anyone who is tempted to reroll their character or stop playing probably does so here. Just having quest directions be more clear would be a huge help, but even with that, it can definitely be a slog. Yeah. It's like if the Drow City from Baldur's Gate 2 was on a merry-go-round. I don't hate the Abyss, but if someone told me they did, I wouldn't need to ask why.
Yeah, exactly.
You could power through the main stuff, but then you miss out on a lot of engaging side stories it has. Plus,
yeah, that's the thing. You can just beeline the main bit, but you feel like you're missing out on so much stuff. So you feel like inclined to do it, or whatever. Obliged, is that the word? It's like, oh, do I, for my own sanity, just beeline, or do I actually do it all? I'm a completionist, so I find it very hard to skip over stuff.
Visually, it's so different than everything else in the game. And seeing how these huge landmasses can shift around and over you is cool, but man, it's just such a pain in the ass. Then, as a lich, when I confront the queen later about all that, she says she sent me there out of fear.
Oh.
And
thanks.
Welcome to the Horde. Go guard the Tyrell building. Alright, let's get back to the Crusade proper and everything that comes with that. When you're put in charge of the Crusade after Canabris, you can recruit troops into multiple armies. These can move around and explore on the overworld just like your party does. Instead of resting, they just have a limited amount of time they can move per day. Their main purpose is to defeat enemy demon armies and capture outposts. The troops that you can recruit will refresh weekly, and you'll have some random mercenary units as well to consider.
Magical over
You might also get troops through regular quests, like if you save a squad of Hell Knights, now you have some Hell Knights in the campaign.
Hell Knights are so good.
To get more and better troops per week means building up your infrastructure. You construct buildings in the capital for more troops and upgrades, and can also build in the outposts you conquer. Structures can require a few resources, but like Kingmaker, gold can convert right into that. This way, all of your loot and treasures from murder hoboing can be pumped right into the war effort. All of this is heavily influenced by your decisions at the command table. Events will pop up that you need to make a decision on, and you can get new resources or troops or anything else really. You can put out decrees for researching relics or dealing with a crisis, and how you play the game.
That's where you realize some of the devs were ex-Hom 5 devs, really? Oh, good info. Was Hom 5 one of the good ones, or was that after Ubisoft acquired them? I can't remember the cutoff point. Was it 5? The last good one? Goodish.
Game can influence what events you can get, or your solutions to them. As a Lich, many problem causers can be turned into loyal soldiers for the Crusade. Whereas if you're trying to play as a good character, your solutions might need to be more diplomatic. What units you unlock in the battlefield are also based on your decisions. So flavor-wise, it's all fantastic. The units and abilities of your armies reflect your decisions. What your forces look like can vary wildly between playthroughs. My Lich armies were mostly undead, with a few knightly orders in there. My Angel army had paladins and inquisitors and other religious units. And the swarm that walks.
Last decent one after they got Ubisofted, but still a good one. Okay. I'll let it slide. Everyone knows 3 is the best. Well, 2, I like the visuals of 2, but 3 is kind of considered the best. And it's kind of like a religion in some countries, apparently.
Had more swarms. To give some examples, troops can be merged back and forth between armies, and to make them progress further, you can recruit generals. They progress like your regular characters, getting new skills and abilities as they level up. Their victories unblock the way for your party, give you great rewards, and should be a perfect harmonious loop. Then the battles begin.
They're not that bad, but a bit tedious. You can auto-resolve them sometimes, but you're better off manually piloting them.
These are so fucking dull. They're not bad in a painful way, they're just so simple that I'm struggling with how to word this. When people say they hate all forms of turn-based combat, these are like goggles that let you see the world through their eyes. It also falls apart in progression. This will be a mild spoiler, but here's the final army battle in one of my campaigns.
I see. Nice. I didn't realize you get that strong. Good job.
Oh boy. The issue is, it feels like there's very little thought behind these battles. We're heroes of might.
Crunchy hom 2 pixels. You're part of the 3 theocratic region. Yeah. You look at the category Heroes of Might and Magic 3 on Twitch, and it's pretty much, you know, Eastern European people just playing it. It's really cool to see that it's still remembered so fondly today.
Magic 3 could feel like solving a puzzle. This feels mostly mindless. There were occasional fights where I'd think of how to stack up spells and unit abilities, but it wasn't very often. The majority of the fights are decided at range anyways, either by your shooty unit or by your general casting a spell. There were multiple times I went up against an evenly ranked army where I just one-shot it with a fireball.
Lucky.
And this was all in the standard difficulty. Basic armies have few unit slots, and besides covering a wider area, there's no reason to not use a death stack. If an army is rated higher than a demon army, you overpower them and can automatically win. So the best thing you could do is go for more general skills and choices that let you dump more units into one army. The only good things about the army combat are that it reflects your choices, and the novelty of playing it inside of a CRPG. Those elements still aren't enough to make it worthwhile,
it's a cool idea.
It is nice having armies that help explore the overworld for you. And while you could set it to auto and never touch it, that's not ideal. You miss out on rewards like special items, and the map is unlocked to you in stages instead of you being able to control that.
Yeah.
The best thing you could do is knock it down to easy, steamroll, and only have to fight sometimes.
That's what I do.
It's just a shame that what's supposed to be a big part of the game is utterly skippable at best, and at worst breaks the pacing. Especially when they did improve the Empire management. There are no negative events you have to corral in or other time wasters. The difference is in Kingmaker, a lot of the management supported the adventure. You might unlock an AC bonus or get extra damage against a certain enemy type. Your choices can unlock unique buildings for your cities, which looped right back into those benefits. Wrath still has those elements, but they're streamlined down to focus on the war economy. You still get benefits in the field, but now a good chunk of them is diverted towards a skippable tactics game. There aren't really special buildings to unlock, and why would there be? You're organizing war logistics rather than ruling over a kingdom. The discussions of what units to unlock are way more interesting than actually using them. The writing is good enough that I wouldn't have minded if the Crusade itself was more abstract and maybe only dealt with in these political meetings. You do get some stuff outside the battles based on your choices like that, but a good amount of it did go to the battles. What could have been a huge improvement over Kingmaker's management is instead an awkward side grade.
TRPGs and strategies are an integral part of the broader Slavic culture, yeah. Failed copycat games, ooh. I'm just thinking of Elex right now. We have to watch the review of Elex. I think Seth did a funny one. I haven't seen it in a long time though, so it might be a good watch one day.
Again, how everything connects.
I I think they're German, not Slavic, but you know, similar direction, I guess.
Is amazing, but the battles themselves not being fun is a fatal flaw. It's still a fantastic and dense RPG, and you can avoid all this stuff completely if you want to. I just wish it was better, since everything for the framework is all here. This brings us to the story, and I actually don't have much to say on the main plot. It's good, but
It's a good story, but I just prefer games where you're not the chosen one, power fantasy type thing, which is surprising, though. I ended up really liking Wrath of the Righteous, even though it's not my preferred type of main character. They did it in a way that I didn't mind it.
I don't find someone like Arilu Vorlesh that interesting to go into detail on. You understand the villain, but they had so many other options open that you don't really sympathize with them. It's like dealing with a narcissist, where you understand how they're viewing the situation, but there are clearly other aspects they're either refusing to or unable to see. So you do understand her motivations, even if she's still nuts, and I appreciate that.
I think that's why I like Might and Magic and Wizardry so much. Because you aren't some super special chosen ones. Weird stream skip happened. Yeah, I think I dropped a few frames then. The internet's been a bit weird lately.
I actually find the story of the war itself and how it progresses a lot more interesting. Everyone is willing to let a lot slide in the name of fighting demons. My Lich campaign was fantastic on that front. The Crusade being twisted into an undead empire wasn't a light switch flip, it was a slow descent. People would be clearly uncomfortable with where things were going, but it's fighting demons, so let's not rock the boat too much. In fact, the loudest opposition and those actively trying to fight the Lich were some of the first to go. The party paladin even sat me down to say she's worried about where things are going and worried about me. It's like tapping into these powers are the equivalent of a hard drug problem, and I'm now at risk of Lich. A lot of my companions left or died during this campaign. Those nice enough to tolerate some atrocities got to witness firsthand as Bone Hitler devoured their comrades.
No.
My only remaining companions were either the most warlike and evil, or the most naive. Even if you don't go that route yourself, you'll see others who do, like kidnapping and lobotomizing people to try and fight their own war.
That dungeon was awful.
You can condemn it, or go, hey, let me get in on that. There is a lot of wiggle room when you're fighting ultimate evil, but playing a good character, you'll find that things aren't that black and white. The Abyss has dozens of warlords, but only 2 are actively attacking. Why is Heaven barely interfering when they haven't come close to matching the escalation? It's not a gray there are no good guys tale, there are clearly evil forces at work, but it does explore war as a cause. Some see the Crusade as a chance for redemption, and others worked tirelessly inside of it and never got forgiveness even after nearly a century. Maybe the demons are capable of redemption too, and you can be worse than them. Everyone has different ideas on what the 5th Crusade is or means. You can turn it into a grand reconciliation, a vengeful holy war, a grab for power, a way to gain favor with gods, all kinds of directions. How you got your powers and all that, I don't find nearly as interesting. I do think I'm... Oh god, I forgot about Darwin.
Who?
DLC. I forgot about the DLC. There's still more coming out, but I'll go over what's out. First up is Inevitable Excess, which takes place right before the final battle. Your party is intercepted by an otherworldly force as something has gone wrong in the space-time continuum.
I didn't really
At first
touch
I
the
thought
DLC.
that maybe this was a chapter cut for pacing, but there is something intriguing
Except
happening here. You go through some remixes of the game you've been
roguelike
through,
mode.
fixing anomalies. And there's a few ways things can play out. However,
I don't remember Darwin.
it's too short to develop out its idea, and this is made for a max-level party, meaning the combat is incredibly tedious. There is no such thing as a trash fight here, and you need to be on your A-game for all of them. Max-level combat in these games means dealing with stacks of buffs and debuffs, and if you're not into that kind of combat where every system counts, you're not going to find a lot here on that side. There are some non-combat conundrums which are fun, but there's also the puzzles which are the most tedious in the game. This feels like it could have been a fun and shorter side-off adventure that's been stretched out through the puzzles and the combat. If you beat it in a certain way due to space-time nonsense, all of your characters will get an extra power, and sometimes portals will open up in their game where they can find some extra loot.
Nice.
If you enjoy the high-level combat, then sure, otherwise it's skippable. Through the Ashes is another strange one. You create a new character who survived the Canabras demon attack, and gather other survivors to try and escape to safety.
That's cool.
This one's more experimental and feels like a survival game. You try and stop your friends from dying of disease, and you can use the environment a lot more in fights. It's a low-level adventure and clearly meant to be played on higher difficulties. It's an interesting but short idea for a one-off, but there's 2 things I don't get. For one, if you wanted lower stakes adventures in this setting, you could probably just go play Kingmaker and get it on sale cheaper than this. It is fun playing more guerrilla where your big baddies are an undead local celebrity and a petty demon, but it's short and still ended with a to be continued, which builds inside of it. As an example, I made Dar from Beastmaster, except you can't actually get a tiger.
Another multi-second skip. I'm sorry. My internet's been a bit funny lately. Hopefully the VOD doesn't get too messed up.
Companion, so I got a wolf. Which is fine. In the movie, they painted the tiger black for some reason, and it turned out to have a horrible allergy to the paint. So a good chunk of the movie is watching the tiger get more lethargic and sleepy as it eventually died on set. Not in my game. My wolf has no known allergies. It's okay on sale. However, The Last Sarkorians is the easy recommend. You get new areas and quests, a new companion who's nature-focused, which was lacking in the main campaign, a new class, new items and units, and it integrates perfectly into the main game. To the point that he has party interaction in the Excess DLC.
He does?
You would think this is all part of the base game if you didn't know better, and that's how I prefer it.
Yeah, he integrates
While I still
pretty
like
well.
Kingmaker, this game blows out of the water in a lot of ways. It has mountains of content, tons of replayability, great writing and companions, and is the kind of game you could play a bit at a time for months on end. It's extremely flawed in the management side, and some other areas are also janky, but for the amount of options it offers, it's hard to find better value in a lot of RPGs. It'll be on sale for a little over $10 in the pinned link for the next while. They're gonna throw in DLC offers too, but weigh those carefully. Wrath of the Righteous is a gigantic game, so I'll have something smaller next time. I'll see you then as long as I don't start another playthrough. Attack my narcoleptic but otherwise healthy dinosaur.
Hey. Good video. I liked it. He's not too serious.
How do I combat the potential of burning out on games like Pathfinder?
Good question. I think how many hours do I have on Steam of this game? Hold on. I think if not 1,000, it's definitely in the hundreds. And I always sort of burn out around the midway. What is it called again? Wrath of the Righteous. 600 hours. One day I'll beat it.
Finder. I mean, it sure helps when they're fun. Mainly just playing it over a longer period of time. I don't think those kinds of games are really meant to be blitzed in a week or something. Not only do the games last longer, but you've spent so much time with the characters by that point that the big moments also hit harder. How do I organize my game library? On the digital side, GOG Galaxy lets me mark games that are complete.
I liked 5th edition.
Oh, wait, that was a...
Yeah, the random Dark Souls guy that's in Wrath of the Righteous. When I found him, I thought, what are you doing here, Solaire? Praise the sun. You too, sir. Oh, what was I saying? Yeah, I liked 5th edition D&D at first, but I don't know. 3rd is probably the best all-rounder. I got quite a soft spot for 2nd, though. Like whatever edition Baldur's Gate 2 is built off, that's pretty good. People are scared of Thaco, but it's not that bad, I don't think. Yeah, Wrath of the Righteous. Go buy it now if you like long CRPGs with lots of customization. I highly recommend it.